Hi, my name is Ashley Anderson. If you don't know me, I'm the artist who's showing over with Gundy. Abby, unfortunately, got one of that crazy virus that's going around, so she can't be here tonight. So I get to be the honorable artist who gets to introduce Miss Marisa. So I'm going to read the bio verbatim. Please bear with me. Marisa S White is an award-winning artist who is best known for seamlessly stitching multiple photographs together, creating narrative, surreal, and fantastical scenes that speak to the human condition. This collection of work that you see here is titled Certain These Clouds Go Somewhere. At its core, it's all about connection. Connection to something greater than ourselves, but also our connection to each other. With that being said, this joining of the literary and visual arts is a celebration of community. We are all in this together, and we all experience a wide range of emotions, contemplate our place in this universe, and have the ability to laugh so hard no sound comes out, and be brought to tears by sadness of pure elation. We all share in this human experience, and that's what unites us together. We are excited to introduce 7 poets who will so eloquently share these ideas through the written word. They are Shane Autumn Ashwind, Jasmine Dillavou, Mary Estrada, Katie Galloway, Jean Jackson, Lindsay Maroney, and David Reynolds. Without further ado, I'd like to present our first poet, and Miss Marisa S White. There you go.
I'm not going to talk about the work. I'll save all of that for my artist talk on Wednesday, November 16th. So really this is about the poets that we have here and hearing what they have to say, and feeling inspired and magical and all those warm and tinglies that we get when we are just, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, like have some major invocation of spirit in us. So I'm going to introduce our first poet is Shane Autumn Ashwind. Shane Autumn Ashwind is a queer creatix and spellcaster hailing from Arizona monsoons and now residing in Colorado Springs. Faye works with many mediums, but poetry is by far their favorite. Shane has been featured in multiple events in our community, including Art in Action, put on by the Manitou Art Center, and Children of Gaia, and Poetry and Movement, organized by Poetry 719. Shane's pieces are incantations inspired by fair life, loves, and the magic we all have within us. So, Shane.
My first piece is kind of interactive. So we're going to do a little breath practice that I do quite often in meditation. Just sit with your feet flat on the floor and breathe in. And when you breathe in, you close your hand. And when you breathe out, you open your hand. So we can practice this together. In and out. One more time. In and out. The sand is loud, not in the way things are normally loud. This is a soft yet determined annoyance. My crossed legs can feel each grain digging harshly into my skin. I have the urge to scratch and move and scream, but I breathe instead. One breath in. My fingers curl, one breath out, my fists unfurls. A simple exercise to ground my body and my mind. In, out, in, out. The rhythm of my breath, a slow metronome in the still desert air. The rest of my body finds the beat, my torso swaying slightly in a subtle dance. Back and forth, keeping time with my breaths. I feel a warmth within my belly, a seedling starting to burst from soil. I cup my hands on my stomach, and I continue rocking. The warmth grows and blooms into my palms, in and out, back and forth. I can't hear the sand anymore. This piece is titled universal power. As the shadows of the night drew down, the light of the stars peeked through the darkness above, each glimmering point holding possibilities and knowledge beyond my imagination. I wonder at their impermanence. Destinies of supernovas after billions of years of existence, gaseous giants still fade from the sky no matter their density. I ponder for a moment if there is something beyond these stars, a purpose to the ever-changing, forever-moving universe. And then I hear it. Deep in my mind, I hear her voice. To love are the first words I recognize. The voice is low and deep, but lyrical in the way that poets tend to get when they speak of their passions. And her haunted whispers set my body ablaze, alive, to create. The stars blur above, to find beauty. My knees become weak as the voice continues on to share joy. I am caught between the vastness of the sky and my own unknowable mind, which may no longer be my own. To believe. I hold each of her words in my chest. I feel them expanding as I draw in every breath. And I think I see sparks in the air around me, manifesting with every breath that I blow out. I watch them, imagining my own power and abilities. The lessons continue to sit within me. I have heard you. The words fumble from my lips, but I know that does not matter tonight. I have heard you, and now there is work to be done.
Okay, thank you. That was beautiful. All right, our next poet is Jasmine Dillavou, who is an artist, poet, curator, and arts educator here in Colorado Springs. She has spent the last 9 years investing in the Colorado Springs art community with the goal of uplifting voices of systematically undervalued creatives. Her passions lie in telling stories and creating platforms for others to do so as well. So without further ado, Jasmine.
Marissa and I are kind of kindred spirits in creation, I think, because I'm so inspired by her art. It definitely allows us to disappear into the safety of surreality that is so often not given to us, and we're so deprived of imagination and the softness and release that is just exploring a different world. So hopefully some of the words I share with you tonight give you that same kind of energy. So I just want to thank you for letting me experience this work in a different way too.
Thank you.
Also, shameless plug, I'm reading from these 2 books that I wrote that you can purchase at G44 next door if you so like. This week's forecast. Get your pots and pans, lay them under the stardust megaboom downpour. Feel the buzz water like poets' fingertips the sky, a sticky trespasser in our bottomless, seemingly endless euphoria trap. Pour up a drink of your choice. I chose my mother's favorite coffee, confused on vertigo love. It's a 10-day storm tracker death brawl. I split its sweaty palms open to get her going, buzzing down the tripwire. Congrats, little ghost. It's all yours now. It always was. I've been watching the slow cocooning of my old body as she becomes a loud and fatherless kitchen microwave. I'm here. Are you listening? I'm gonna pop. Operators are standing by with your next big letdown, a melting wedding cake shaped like Zeus and Moses getting it on, like the king of country, like reaching the limitless, uncharted territories only real rodeo clown lovers will ever know. If you're waiting for the storm of the century, babe, this ain't it. This is the electric slide on fire. This is all your favorite hoorays tucked into one big musical moment, like like shotgunning a beer on a roof in Denver, like remembering the lines to a song you have never heard, you liar. This is ultraviolet forgotten dimensions nearly 400 star rotations old. The gaping collapse of the great above reminding us that rainwater isn't just rain. It's starting at the very end and looking up instead. Calling home, not awake. Be it the bashful and washed up lover brain of mine, but I am really in this, really devoured up. I want to be seen and taken in. I want to be all brainwashed baby cakes. Fuck that, I am trying. We were just these little kid bodies swimming to shore. We were just two precious and wrong things wanting aliveness to shift through our bones and out our mouths, wanted skin to skin loving and grace at the table. This is what we asked for. Lilac bush teeth gnashed up into the mirror, it's my face smooching back, forever obsessed, internal and alive for one another. The subtle marrow of our two precious blanketed selves, our totally immersed creation. Deadpan laughter at the moon and all her mistakes, no. She does not make mistakes. Me unknowing our bodies awake. Me unknowing myself, I am a prisoner of this devilish little life, so lucky. Creepy little stalker of my own happiness. Let today be absolute and precious. Birth story. I came out of my mother a feeble deer with 4 no-good legs, pink snout coughing up youthful and unfortunate truths. Unsteady. Seriously unready. When the doctor arrived, long after necessary, they tied little bows around each of my unwilling deer hooves, pink like strawberries. Unbridled from the marriage of my mom's womb, they gave me a name. Chrysalis. Moth, destruction, steam, rollover, damage, decomposer, cryptic, careful, careful, careful. As I stood, ready to make my great escape, the unwanted rain began to pour. The forest filling like a rusted bathtub, the borders of Oklahoma spilling over until fish floated up in the banks, and the seaweed grew over the municipal building, and everyone that knew how to swim got out of Dodge real quick. I watched as the hospital bed began floating up towards the ceiling, Mom peeking down on me from her boat-like fortress. Her gown was wet with rainwater and me, her hair dampened and glued to her face. My fur grew slick and hot, and I was swept away under the waves and out the front door, and my bows floated away, and my horns floated away, and the little bits of my mother's insides floated away, and all that was left was a warmed-up leftover of cranky little bones, gruesome desire, and the fear of deep water. Death story. On the last day, a shaky breath drawing close, Cammie and Katie and Anne and Catherine collectively carried me to the beach. Each woman was a set of hands and long gray hair and perfume and plums and nothing more. They rolled my bundled soon-to-be-nothing into the hot sand and dressed my bed. Rose petals, bay leaves, chicken feet, chips of stained glass, Polaroid pictures, cups of red mud, laid around my soon-to-be-nothing like a frame. My hair, now white and curls gone flat, was brushed down by one set of hands. My nails painted by another. Gold. The sun began to dip into the water more darkly and uncompromising than romantic. My lungs closed like 2 swinging doors, and you could hear them clink shut. The broom inside me swept every touch of dust out. Nothing left. Let's get you to the water, Anne says. Unable to speak, I tried desperately to remind her that I cannot swim. A defect, a deficiency. No matter, she says. She knows I have to go back where I came from. And that was that. That was that. The delicate grasp of the women's hands released me slowly, without fear, into the whiteness of water, and tomorrow leaves and replaces my blood, hot remnants, a sleight of hand. And that was that.
Oh my goodness, these just two amazing poets so far just are touching my soul, and it just reminds me too how much poetry really needs to be read versus just reading it. Thank you both. So our next poet, Mary Estrada, as she's making her way up here, I do want to make a small little mention. I've only lived here for about 5 years or so, and she was one of the first people that I met not long after moving here, and I found out she was a writer and actually worked with her to create a poem in collaboration with this piece over here with this tree on fire. So, she was kind enough to also let me publish this in my book, my exhibition book. So I'm super grateful to have you, my dear friend, up here. Let me read your bio real quick. So by day, Mary is a psychotherapist in private practice, specializing in trauma, women's issues, children's, adolescents, and families. In the wee hours of the morning, Mary is an aspiring author, writing poetry and young adult fiction. She practices healing touch, Reiki, and kayaks any and every chance she gets.
So I've decided just to read one poem, and the reason why is, as Marisa just said, we were sitting around outside at the beginning of COVID, and we were kind of spaced out and talking about Marisa's vision for this beautiful piece of work that's over here. And as Marisa was envisioning, I think without even thinking about it, I was just taking in her vision, and it wasn't formed yet, but I could feel it without even knowing I was feeling it. And so, as Marisa said, I get up very early in the morning and I write, because then life starts and I don't create anymore during the day. So I woke up one morning early in COVID and just heard this poem and caught it. So I will read it to you, and it's very connected to that piece, called Rooted and Reaching. In moments of calm breath and diamond sky, the city asleep far below, my mind untethers, my vision soars, and I see us. I see us. A singular being, infinite branches, rooted and reaching, fear shed like snakeskin in the afternoon sun. We are artists and dancers, singers and dreamers, healers and teachers. We are all colors and no color, aged and ageless, aflame with a dream of one world where every soul is welcomed, where every soul dreams is dreamed of, where every soul creates, is created, is creator. In moments of calm breath and diamond sky, I see us, our infinite branches reaching beyond form, becoming formless, touching love, becoming love. And the city and the sleeping city below sighs, smiles, and heals.
Thank you, Mary. Okay, our next poet is Jene Jackson. So Jene is a speaker, writer, clothing store founder. Jene Jackson has kept her poetry mostly locked away, rarely shared. So what a gift. So tonight she adds poet to how she shows up in our world. Yes. Thank you.
So only this year did I start eating like the 1.25 reading glasses, and I printed it so big. As I thought about tonight, I started looking at the poetry that I've captured. It's kind of blows through, and I'm going to tell you a little bit of a kind of a journey, take you on a journey that's very congruent with your amazing photography and art. And she said it needs to be uplifting. So the very first poem I'm reading is called Depression.
Well, let me just state, I said, you can go into dark places. Just come out of it at the end.
Just saying. Perhaps I am to live a life of dashed hopes, paying for all eternity for some horrific mistake in some past life. Perhaps I made a decision so huge that it cost thousands of lives, or perhaps I killed them myself. I am in a trough of no hope, a culvert, the water of why does it matter engulfing, a current so strong that I can no longer see the bleak concrete sides. I would like to end this poem with hope, but I don't know where to find it. Maybe simply in its creation. Maybe there, maybe here. Some days I find myself standing very still, barely breathing, shoulders slightly tense, and then I suddenly inhale deeply. And I straighten up, stand up, move, choosing every moment to live. Don't clap, it's fine. I'm going to go on to, not that you have to. This was my first, this was written on the first day of the COVID lockdown. I woke late today thinking it had snowed. That singular silence, muffled and pristine, as though no one has ever been before me to hear the sounds of the earth, air, and wind crystalline. But no, sunlight dappled my bedroom's shades, calling me to rise to a newly silent city, to be in the light, quiet. How long has it been since the earth woke like I did? She too rose late today and wondered at the silence. 100 years since she could hear the wind without the car, the grass without the mower, the rushing water in the brook, river, gutters without the rushing people's frantic calls to hurry or they'd be late. She rose to stand in her back door, as I did, to make sure it hadn't snowed, and like I did, stood very still and heard all things green pushing themselves to the sun, their yearning magnificent and grand and quiet as snow. So much of herself she had tamped down, trampled, tamed, yoked to her people. Her kindly, brutal, nurturing nature bled of its power to heal and grow and bring forth life itself in a bud or the sea or me. 100 years since we woke to this silence. There goes the first car down my street. I can go to the store for food now. Maybe I'll walk. It's called Hi, Jene. How the use of your name means distance. The friend you have not seen in ages because you have been drowning, but could have called to chat even if a walk was too much. The friend of your heart. The use of your name on their lips, an unspoken rebuke. Where have you been? Why have you not called? What is wrong? The use of your name needing to be said because closeness is no longer assumed or implied, so your name must be spoken to be known again. A question, reintroduced as though we are strangers, strangers without a history of cherishing and talking every day, as though life has moved apart our continents. And then the fear rises. Did I neglect you? the remorse? Did I hurt your heart? The resignation. What is wrong with me that I let you slide? The hope. I will try to make it right. The use of your name, a part of the tide of friendships, high tides and low, ebb and flow, a flood sometimes friendship, heavy with torrential rains and untethered land inexorably coming loose, heavy with lost things and life floating by, a cat on a roof, the use of your name, a bubbling of the springs of friendship, sparkling and bright, sustaining light and life, cold from the core, the flow of underneath and unspoken but true, the truest from the aquifer of love, bracing cold, shocking back to life this friendship. The use of your name, shocking back to life this friendship, heartbreaking always, heart-sustaining always. The use of your name means distance, yes. The use of your name means love. It means love. It means you are worthy of being called and called and called and called again and called back, maybe over and over, both ways, calling through the rains, across the floods, through the waters, calls of the hearts that beat together, called, named, loved. I have 2 more poems. Is that okay?
Of course.
I never know what time.
You're fine.
Okay. That weird Monday. It is as if time stutters sometimes. And I swear, I can feel it. Feel the cogs grabbing, then slipping, then twisting, and everything is strange and weird and wholly different for a moment, or 10 minutes, or a whole day. And though the underbelly suddenly seems to bore up into now, piercing, sharp, scary, dislocating fear and uncertainty, also the light shines skewed, and birds speak whole sentences, and flower fragrance drifts in from nowhere, and the cotton of the sleeve of my shirt plucks the hair of my arm to play my body to bliss. And espresso transports me directly to heaven, my brain, my entire soul to whatever heaven is. And my friend's voice on the magic we call phone, breaks my heart with its loveliness. And I can feel it, can feel my people, my city, swirling around in patterns changed by the stutter, time slowing, then speeding, then maybe even dancing. Butterfly wings over us all, gently beating time and our light and our sound, and even the earth beneath our feet to save us, to shift time, to shift now to slightly better. Only slightly, maybe, but maybe more, and maybe so much that we can feel it and see it and taste more joy after the stutter resolves. And the next day, we shake our hands at that weird Monday, and we walk along as if nothing has changed. But it has. This is how I feel about re-entering society with all of you, and hoping, like my hope for the world. It's called We Make Tea. My hand dunks the tea, so optimistic in its strainer, not straining, just holding it together, all the leaves. Maybe they would rather dance alone in the water that scalds, but I insist. I feel the arms, wrists, and hands of millions of mostly women dunking the tea before me, not straining, just holding it together, all the everythings. Maybe they would rather dance alone in the world that scalds. But no, they insist. No, together we make tea. I feel the arms, wrists, and hands of billions of everyone, dunking the tea after us. And the strainer breaks open and the tea leaves dance in the world that scalds. And yes, they dance alone. Together, we make tea.
Okay, so when I invited all these poets to come and talk, I had very few restrictions or requirements, just basically kind of gave them the concept of what was happening here within the show. But I did say, like, nothing overly depressing. I wanted it to be uplifting, recognizing, though, that life is not always completely uplifting, that we all have the bumps and, dips in the valleys that help bring us back into light. And so there was the idea that, for sure, the sun rises up through darkness every single day, right? So thank you. All right, so this next poet, first off, apologies. Apparently I can't go in alphabetical order. Katie Galloway is our next poet. She is a writer and editor in Colorado Springs, Colorado. She is the co-creator of Becoming Poetry, where she writes spontaneous poems on her Smith Corona typewriter and hosts writing workshops, encouraging creativity and honesty as a means of fostering connection. When she's not working with words, you can find Katie creating through music, color math on Spotify, and film photography at k.galloway. All right, thank you.
Absolutely. Before I share the poem I wrote to accompany this exhibit, I want to just talk a little bit about my process. For the last couple of years, I've been working slowly on a collection of prose poems titled Still and Still Moving. And this collection is about navigating change and uncertainty, especially concerning relationship to the self and to others when your foundational beliefs are shifting or changing or dissolving. It's about groundlessness in a way. And so when I first viewed Marisa's work, I was drawn in by so many of the pieces, but there were two in particular that stood out to me and that I kept in my mind as I was writing. And it's Somewhere and Anywhere. And I'll give you a chance to look at it in case you haven't. It's the two with the doors. They're smaller squares. This first one with the sand in the door, and then the one at the very bottom by the door. Those were my two, I don't want to say favorites because I love them all, but they were the ones that I was pulled into, because I think they look like invitations. And one of the themes, there were many themes that Marisa gave us to write on, but engaging in dialogue with the divine was one that struck me, and I think that these are invitations to that conversation. And so I chose to lean in to the overlap in themes in the collection I'm working on and these recurring images. So here's the poem. It's titled, Sturdy is the doorframe, fluid are the sands. Instinct moves through me, simple as a door left open. My arm's subconscious extension reaches out to brace the fall or else feel for another way to be. My fingertips trace the shape of messages left in the mirror. Slow condensation, now reconnection. Slow condensation, now reconnection. I hear it echo in our teenage voices and realize or remember the sacred loves to speak our unique languages. Instinct moves through me, simple as a native tongue. They say what we seek we find, our eyes have blinded from fixating on a certain light. The silhouette of it, burned into our vision like an omen, the shape of a puzzle piece not yet found. I used to walk the horizon line, following a fading light. These days, I love a vertical line, the glow from the next room, shining through a door cracked open. I step forward, and in my leaving is only always returning. Next, I'll just share a few poems from that Work in Progress collection, Still and Still Moving. This first one is called Dog-Eared Memory. I wake in the night to pull books from my shelves, looking for that dog-eared memory that will fill all the blank black spaces between these daydreams. Eyes closed. Closer now, I think, to savior or sorrow, I am not yet sure. And I still desire certainty. I still flip back the pages, waiting for that past self signal, underlining in pencil a trail back home. Last night I dreamt that your new name was Night Train. My waking mind is embarrassed by the connotations. I want to erase all the marks I made about you before and let you reread the story uninformed. Still, you are a vehicle of homecoming for so many. For me, for some reason, I feel like a child, tracing over dotted cursive letters. Whose handwriting am I emulating? My hands have trouble learning new patterns. The mind does too. It's obvious, isn't it? In every page, I'm still looking for you. These days feel like learning to read in the dark, or else learning to do without reading. In the belly of a whale, there are no lamps, at least always a second chance, a night train, still on the way. Evidence. I look for evidence that my life is not a photograph. The invasive gust of wind tangling my hair, at least the clang of a wind chime from the neighbor's yard. I want to hear and see and feel my experience return to me, even if only in ceramic bells. Shadows change direction, stretching and shortening, stretching again, the reach and recoil. There is stillness, and then there is what moves over that stillness. There is movement, but is there a way to move closer? The mirage shimmers, consistent only in the distance it keeps from me. So all of these poems I selected from my collection to share tonight have those images, the door, the sand, the sea, but it's also just that reaching that I feel. But this next one is just kind of on the nose. It's I want to explain the way it looks to you. It's written in the shape of a rectangular spiral. It's the shape of a door. The mind is a doorway, the subconscious a room. Outside, the field of memory is full of landmines to walk through. Wake early, engine running, humming its tune. The new morning clouds look like birthday balloons, tied to a chair. Your friends and family are already there. Beyond the mind is a doorway, the subconscious a room. Outside the field of memory is full of landmines to walk through. And I'll close with just one more short prose poem. It's titled The Last Window. In Arizona, that once was ocean, the sky dyes bright blue. Sky turned sea, ultramarine, another crowded mouth key, a key that cuts. If you had to go alone, would you still come?
Okay, so I'm going to move on to our next poet and final poet is David Reynolds. David Reynolds, come on down. David Reynolds chairs the English department at the Fountain Valley School in Colorado Springs, where he has taught for 30 years. His poems have appeared in diverse publications, including the Tipton Poetry Journal, Mountain Gazette, the Broken Bridge Review, and Modern Haiku. He loves hiking, Nordic skiing, cooking, and playing with words. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank you for organizing this. I think this is really great. I love this turnout. This turnout is so many more people here than I thought would be, including some of my colleagues and friends and wife. And so thank you for taking the chance. And you don't even know us poets. We could get up here and read schlock, but
Right?
you know, what a great.
I had faith.
Yeah, thank you. This first one is dedicated to my wife, who's sitting in the back there. It's called Cleaning Windows. It is a Saturday in spring when my wife and I decide to clean the windows, cleaner and cloths in hand. I head outside while my wife stays inside with her tools. After many squirts and wipes, I notice a spot she has missed, and I point. At first, she thinks I am pointing to the dog inside. Then she sees the offending smudge, but she does not smile at my observation. She frowns as if to say I am picking nits. A few swirls later, she points towards me, noting a missed spot on my side of the window. I smile a smile that is not a smile, and I realize how like marriage this is, each one seeing clearly the other's smudges, each one pointing out the faults of the other, each one thinking the other will gladly fix them. After such reflection, I offer to make iced tea, and suggest that the windows look just fine. Yeah, so true. And this is a new poem called Clouds for you.
Thank you.
For this. I am thinking of clouds. I start with Simon and Garfunkel and their sky, which is gray and white and cloudy. And I move on to King Crimson and their song Nuages, which is French for cloud. The song is subtitled That Which Passes, Passes Like Clouds. One of my favorite words is obfuscate, which means to make cloudy or to darken. Something about that OBFS combination tickles my elbow. Growing up in the East, I'm a student of clouds, the pewter blanket that settles over the landscape. You could go days without feeling the sun. But here in the land of sun and red rocks, here in Colorado, clouds are intruders. They sail into the cerulean sky and block our ever-present sun, which was called Time's Winged Chariot by Andrew Marvell in his 1681 poem of seduction to his coy mistress. Yes, here the clouds often pass by innocently, individually. They do not gang up, but only block the sun temporarily, like an ad you must watch before the video streams. And as any artist will tell you, clouds add depth. Clouds add contrast and emotion to a scene. A bare sky is frightening in its nothingness, its ocean-like blankness. Clouds are the ship sailing by, the thing for our eye to latch onto. Clouds become a bed for angels, pillows for gods. We lie on our backs, drugged by a warm afternoon, and use the clouds as a Rorschach's test, seeing our own desires and fears in their shapes. And I return to music and to Joni Mitchell and her song, Both Sides Now. And I realize that I've looked at clouds from both sides now. Thank you.
Okay, well, I wanted to thank you guys all for coming. If I could ask all the poets to come back up here for just a final little present so everybody can applaud you guys in person and get a photo picture, I'd appreciate that. But thank you so much for everybody for coming and being a part of this wonderful experience. And I am forever grateful for you sharing your words and your heart and your soul with the rest of us. So thank you so much.